Okay, so The Matrix, you know what it is, a set of films about a guy who's trapped in a fictional computer world, then has to break free of it, and then set everybody else free from the computer world. You know, if unless you live under a rock, you've heard of it. It's now somehow already been a good 4 months since the last time I made a video on this and this whole little series I'm creating, so I guess it's time for a new one, so yeah. I think there's a very solid grounding for a Marxist reading of these films, and so in this video I'm going to be going into that. So, needless to say, spoiler warning, and, like for all three Matrix films, not for the revivals, I've not seen that, but for the original trilogy, spoiler warning for them, and let's get right into it. So, to explain this, I have to explain how Marxism works. So, Marxism can mean a whole bunch of things. Theoretically, it can mean any idea that originated from Karl Marx, but frankly, there's one very central idea that's like the main thing. It's like the important thing. It's like the make or break. Like, you believe this, you're Marxist, you don't, you're not a Marxist, right? Okay, and that is basically class struggle, alright? So basically, the way according to Marxist theory, basically society's instruction is such a way that there are two social classes. These are not legally designated; they aren't even necessarily socially recognized, but they are created by economic circumstances. There are normal people like you or me who have to work to make a living, and then there's rich people who have already got a bunch of money. They've got a bunch of money invested in stocks and in banks and shit, and so or they own banks and shit, or they own companies and shit, and so they get money from those, and so they don't have to work to get money, so they don't have to work to get money, whereas we do, and they also exploit us in order to get all of that money. We describe people who understand this as being class conscious, and people who do not understand this as being class unconscious, and this maps onto the Matrix in a very obvious way. You know, if you're trapped in the Matrix, if you think Matrix is the real world, the Matrix is the real world, if you've never been outside the Matrix, then you are literally unconscious, whereas if you've taken the red pill and gotten out of the Matrix, then you're conscious, or at least you're conscious when you're not in the Matrix, like going into fight the Matrix. You get the point. Which also, while talking about this, I've just reminded myself of the red pill. What color? There's the red pill and the blue pill, right? Now, what ideologies are red and blue typically associated with? Well, it's generally associated with radicalism broadly, but it's mainly associated with Marxism and communism. You know, and communism and socialism are both derived of Marxism, and whereas the blue pill, well, blue is often associated with democracy, which is not something real Marxists are against, albeit there are tankies out there. It's often also associated with capitalism, like just the ideology that Marxism is very strongly opposed to. What Marxists consider capitalism to be is basically a society where those already economic conditions of class which I described exist. Furthermore, in the Matrix films, being aware of the Matrix is described as a matter of freedom. If you're outside of the Matrix, then you're outside, you're free. If you're inside the Matrix, you're trapped in it, like, you're unfree, you know? And well, being class consciousness, I wouldn't consider a matter of freedom in the same way as the Matrix. It is the case that, living under capitalism, normal people, members of the proletariat slash working class, as Marxists would call us, are unfree, because basically, you're stuck working for people who have more money than you. You could try to start your own business, but first, you've got to get a banker to give you a loan, unless you're already rich, which can lead to gatekeeping. In addition, you have an infinite liability, meaning that if basically your business goes wrong, which is most likely to do in the first 5 years, you're fucked, you're destitute, you lose everything, which is a strong motivator not to do that. So, most common people, especially young people, are stuck working for people who are higher than them. They dictate how much money you get. I mean, I guess they couldn't say you get $1 trillion a day, but they have some ability to change it, and I'll explain later why, frankly, you probably should be getting more. In addition, they dictate the hours you work. They dictate how you work, as in, that if, say you come up with an idea for that makes your job easier, they say, no, you have to do it this way. They bother you around, they push you around, make sure you're as effective a worker for the company as possible. You know, common people, for like me and you, are unfree under this system. By the way, a little side note as to why I say they should probably pay you more is basically, they have to pay a certain amount of money to get what's called the means of production. Basically, they have to buy the storefronts, they have to buy what thing you're selling, or they have to buy the factory or own the factory already, and they have to buy the resources that go in to get the goods to make, like, the resources that go into the factory that can be used to make the final end product, or whatever. It depends on the exact job you happen to have. But they are the ones who pay for that, and so they have to spend a certain amount of money towards that, and yeah, they can't give that to you. However, everything, like, However, they didn't create that value. It's someone else doing work that created that value. And at least in most cases, they didn't do anything besides already owning the resources needed to get into the thing, meaning that any extra value that's accumulated is a result of you doing work, or you and your coworkers doing work, whether that's working on a factory assembly line, or catching fish, or raising animals, or selling things to customers, or cooking at a restaurant, so on and so forth. It's you and or you slash your co-workers that have done the work to contribute that value. Therefore, any extra money that is made on top of the amount it took to buy the means of production, you know, the thing I already explained what the means of production are, is rightfully your money as you're the one that earned it. And yet, if they so much as want to make a living without having to get a job themselves, they have to take a certain amount of it, and typically they take quite a lot of it. Because they can. Okay, so if you want to skip past this part because I'm kind of rambling on, here's the time stamp to skip to when I'm next talking about the Matrix. But anyway, some might, here's a final part on Marxist theory, some might say, oh, but what's your solution to this? Well, here's the thing, okay? Marx, back in his day, in the 1800s, sort of proposed deindustrialization as part of it. Basically, we just have a bunch of small businesses. We have little workshops where people make hammers and people grow crops on their own and people rear animals on their own and so on and so forth. And that's how we organize society, right? And it's like the small business is run by a few people who work there. And it's like a small enough group of people you can have like direct democracy and all that. But here's the thing. We have 7 billion people in this world. We rely on cheap industrial products. Frankly, computers and video games they'd be very expensive luxury goods if we didn't have industry. And if you couldn't tell by the contents of this YouTube channel, I really like video games. So a more pragmatic solution that would actually work in the 21st century, in the 3rd millennium and onwards, so on and so forth, would be to basically democratize the companies. Basically, instead of having a board of directors appointed by shareholders as well as the CEO appointed by shareholders, instead the company holds elections on who gets put onto the board of directors and as to who the CEO is, and any position within the company where they have power over other people in the company is elected, kind of like a country's government. In fact, it would function very similarly to that. So I said that this bit would be post-Marxist theory, and actually no, I'm going to use that to loop back to it, so I'm going to be back to Matrix in a moment, sorry. Okay? So many would defend the owning class by saying, oh, but they organize the job, but they actually organize everything, they get everything set up, and it's like, one, we could elect people to do that, and they probably, and you know, then it would be, the workers would be in control of their lives more so, which is a good thing, it's a thing we should have. Plus, again, they deserve to be getting paid that much more, but many defend the bourgeoisie with all kinds of little fallacious little things like that. And in the same way, well, many could defend the machines in the Matrix who, if it isn't obvious, the machines are the owning class. But many could defend them by saying, oh look, they saved the humans from living in the post-apocalyptic wasteland they created by creating this little fake world of the Matrix where the world hasn't been destroyed yet and it's still very habitable to animals, such as humans. And to exemplify how little work the owning class actually do, I want to point out this group that exists within society called middle management. They're typically the guys whose job it is to actually organize the labor for the common workers beneath them. They exist between the owners of a company and the workers. They're the ones whose job it is to go up to the McDonald's employee and say, you could be cleaning the floor right now while they're having a 2-second breather while no one's walking into the store at this particular moment. You know, they're the ones whose job it is to deal with the common worker and actually interact with them and bully them. And a parallel to this exists in the Matrix films. While the machines might be the owning class, there's a class within the world of the Matrix that exists between the machines and the humans, that class being the programs. The programs are a set of beings that exist exclusively in the Matrix, and their job is basically to run the Matrix. They do everything from rendering the graphics, to accounting for how wind blows, to all kinds of different things, and there's this one subset of the programs, known as the agents, whose job is to basically go ahead and assassinate anyone who's trying to destroy the Matrix. And they take on an appearance of a human form, and they're often the main antagonists, so you got who Neo, that's the main character, and everyone else has to fight. The agents are cops. Although, needless to say, we shouldn't have a society without law enforcement. Sometimes there are crazy people who are just evil. There's people who are, like people who just hate minority groups. You just want to kill them because they're evil. They exist. There are crazy psychopaths who want to kill people because they're crazy. They exist. Police should exist for that reason. But by and large, crime is committed by people out of desperation. And so, by and large, the police are just bullying people who are desperate to survive. You know? But anyway. Okay, so I recorded the rest of this like 3 months ago, and now I've got a recorded conclusion so I can finish editing it and uploading it. So, where do I go with this? I could probably go further with this if I wanted, but like, look, I'll just do this. Look, the program, both the programs and the humans, their life sucks because they're trapped in the Matrix, all that, and then they have their whole revolution against the machines, and then at the end there's an ending, and oh yay, they all get to live in peace. That's cool. I could read into that, but I think I've already gotten my overall point for this video across. So yeah. That's a Marxist reading of the Matrix films for you. So hope you enjoyed, and please hit the like button if you enjoyed this, because so YouTube shows it to more people. You know, if you watched this far, you clearly enjoyed it, and then hit subscribe if you want to see more. Peace. So yeah, that's a new video compared to most videos where I'm this tired at the end of making it. I don't really hate it, so that's good. I didn't hate making it. Yeah, I do feel like, yeah, the last couple of videos have all been made of pre-existing audio. Like, I recorded this audio back in May, as was the last video was, what was it? Yeah, I'd recorded the audio a while before I released it, because I switched it over to the Sonic Mania video. Then, what was it? There was a video before that, which was just the second part of the Sonic Mania video, and it's like, it's taking 2 weeks each, and it's like, all I've really done for these is editing them. It's like, am I only editing? Am I lazy or something? I feel like shit. I mean, I did the Undertale videos audio in that time, so, but, yeah, I don't know, I'm a mess, but, I've got this here ready to put out in the public now. I'm doing other stuff creatively in the background. Hopefully I'll have something out next week, or at least 2 weeks from now. Certainly don't have any existing audio like that to use. I don't know if this is like ASMR or it's like spit-filled shit. This audio, lol. So yeah, peace, bye.